gotta tell these people?
Batman. Back Jack.
You feel me? Ain't no cap in it.
No cap in mind, right?
You feel what I'm saying?
The right way.
It's time.
The right way, bro.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right way.
Yeah.
We're in the mansion on the island doing what we do. Yeah.
This gang don't bang.
This don't bang a little bit of.
How y'all little trading?
Two buses belonging to the entourage for rapper Lil Wayne came under gunfire. Prosecutors say a simmering rap feud and gang tensions led to it.
Gunna's life could be in danger. Sounds intense, but that's exactly what's buzzing in the streets. Rumor has it that even Lil Wayne is supposedly warning him. For those of you wondering why Lil Wayne could have known this, well, it's easy. Lil Wayne was almost offed by Young Thug sometime in 2016, and the word is that Gunna may just be next.
We're in the mansion on the island doing what we do. Yeah. Like
Don't bang.
gang don't bang a little bit of.
How y'all little trading?
Let's break this down. Back in 2022, Gunna apparently snitched on Thug by taking an Alford plea, which painted him as someone who chose freedom over loyalty, at least in the eyes of some fans.
The streets are so atrocious. Young Thug told everybody that Gunna was a snitch. I'm telling you this, I don't give a f if you believe me. That's what he sent to, or he sent a message to Dirk. There's a few other rappers, I just won't call their names, just because some of them just told me in privacy. All of them rappers start not with Gunna, speaking out, they're chilling away.
Ever since then, talk's been swirling that Gunna's move was a huge betrayal of Thug's friendship. Now that Thug is out, despite being under house arrest, people are speculating that the Thug everyone knows might not let bygones be bygones. Let's take a trip down memory lane here. Back in May 2022, both Gunna and Young Thug found themselves caught up in a massive 56-count indictment related to the YSL RICO case, throwing their lives and the rap world into a frenzy. Gunna, along with his lawyer Steve Sado, managed to reach an Alford plea that secured his release in December of that year, while Thug stayed behind bars until his own plea deal was reached on October 31st. But even as Gunna and Sado were quick to shoot down any rumors about Gunna snitching his way out, it was clear that no amount of legal explaining could fully shake the stigma.
Wake up and smell a coffin, man. Rats.
Well,
certified.
The moment he walked out of jail, Gunna's image took a serious nosedive, with fans and even some big names in hip-hop now looking at him sideways. Words like snitch and rat started getting thrown around, carrying all the weight of accusations that strike at the very core of loyalty, a quality nearly sacred in the world of rap.
They got a lot of gunners in this sewer. We in New York City. I see about 3 gunners right now. One just went under the sewer.
Oh my goodness.
One just went under the sewer.
Sure, he'd regained his freedom, but that release came with a whole new set of problems. Because in this world, loyalty is the currency that counts. And for some, his plea deal came across as a betrayal. Suddenly, everyone was wondering if Gunna had put Thug's case at risk just to secure his own freedom. The snitch label isn't entirely new to Gunna either. He's been fending off rumors of disloyalty for a while now. And let's be real, that old Crime Stoppers video from years ago didn't exactly help his street credibility.
That's why it's come back to that street word, snitch. No one's want to be labeled as a snitch. I don't want to tell on him because somebody might try to come kill me or someone in my family.
Things took an even sharper turn when prominent rappers like Freddie Gibbs and even Gunna's own peers like Lil Baby, 21 Savage, and Lil Durk seemed to hint that his plea deal may have negatively impacted Thug's case, casting a shadow over his release that made it seem less like a victory and more like an escape tainted with doubt and fallout.
Do you believe that Gunna told?
Man, I don't sit up and play games, man. That man told. You should have went in there and kept your mouth closed. I never I'm following. I don't know. I never why I didn't. I don't know. I just don't take it.
Since the whole YSL racketeering case broke in 2022, Gunna has been fighting to defend himself, claiming that people don't understand the legal specifics and are rushing to judge him without real knowledge. But with the latest twists in the YSL case, those old rumors have flared up again. During court proceedings, Gunna had to acknowledge a list of statements from the prosecution, including one particularly heavy claim. YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang. while his sentence was cut down to a year already served with 4 more years suspended, along with 350 hours of community service aimed at educating young people on the dangers of gang life. The damage to his rep was already done, so Gunna tried hard to make it crystal clear that he hadn't betrayed anyone by explaining that he'd taken the Alford plea to wrap up his RICO case, where he openly acknowledged his YSL affiliation, but insisted he was keeping his innocence intact. And he made sure everyone knew that this plea was his best shot at getting out of jail without fully admitting any guilt, though he emphasized that it didn't mean he was flipping on Thug or anyone else. His lawyer, Steve Sadow, was all over social media, slamming down any snitch rumors that were spreading like wildfire after Gunna's release, trying to set the record straight with a strong statement. Gunna did not snitch to get out of jail, Sadow said on social media at the time. He has said nothing and is not cooperating. His plea statement cannot be used in court against any other defendant, so please stop spreading lies. Now, with Thug released on Halloween after securing his own plea deal, fans and insiders alike are buzzing with talk that Thug might not be as forgiving toward Gunna as some hoped, especially with whispers circulating that Lil Wayne himself has allegedly warned Gunna about just how far Thug might go if he feels betrayed. And this speculation isn't entirely out of the blue, considering Thug's past. Back in 2015, Thug's close associate, Pee Wee Roscoe, who was tied to Birdman, was arrested after allegedly shooting up Lil Wayne's tour bus while it was parked outside a concert venue in Atlanta, which turned into a high-stakes case.
2 buses belonging to the entourage for rapper Lil Wayne came under gunfire. Prosecutors say a simmering rap feud and gang tensions led to it.
Pee Wee faced a whopping 27 charges, including RICO Act violations, several counts of aggravated assault, and criminal damage to property. Pee Wee ended up taking a plea deal, landing a hefty 10-year sentence, but in a twist, that sentence got tossed out in 2018 after the judge overseeing his case was found to have pressured him by dangling a harsher sentence if he didn't plead. Now, years later, Jimmy Carlton Winfrey, aka Pee Wee Roscoe, entered a new guilty plea. Pitchfork confirmed this in court documents, which means he agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts under the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, with prosecutors dropping all other charges against him. This new plea landed him a 7-year sentence, with credit for time already served. And TMZ reported that, according to Sadow, he could be released from prison pretty soon. The original indictment had boldly claimed that Young Thug and Birdman were part of the plot against Wayne's tour bus, suggesting some dark undercurrents in their feud, though neither Thug nor Birdman were ultimately charged. This intense history between Thug and Wayne, combined with the current situation and speculation around Gunna, only adds fuel to the fire, making people wonder how this uneasy dynamic between Thug and Gunna might play out now that Thug's back out and seems to be quietly, but potentially vengefully, watching. Then, on November 9th, it looked like Thugger couldn't resist firing off a subtle but loaded tweet aimed at Gunna, only to quickly delete it from X. But by then, the damage was already done, and the message was everywhere, spreading across social media like wildfire. The tweet was short and sharp. "Gunna, stop acting like we friends on the internet. I don't know you, my guy." It didn't take long for Gunna's brother DP to respond, hopping into the Shade Room's comments section to add some fuel to the fire, making it clear that Gunna's camp wasn't exactly feeling friendly vibes either. "Trust and believe the feeling is mutual," DP wrote, stirring up even more chatter about whether there's any chance of reconciliation. Thug hasn't explained that now deleted tweet, but his next big move seemed to speak volumes. He's gearing up to work with Lil Baby, who has been pretty vocal about keeping his distance from Gunna ever since he was released, showing which side he's choosing in this mess. Thug even tweeted out, "Wham, let's drop one on these rats, Peter," hinting at a new collaboration with Baby. And fans can't stop speculating on what it all means for Thug and Gunna's relationship, which has clearly taken a few major hits. While Gunna is technically still under contract with YSL Records, he's been almost entirely silent on the state of his relationship with Thugger, leaving fans to read between the lines of every tweet, every collab, and every headline. Reactions to Thug's recent tweets have been all over the place, with some fans cheering on his unfiltered return, thrilled to see him back in action. but others aren't exactly on board. They're asking why Thug's first moves after being released weren't about expressing gratitude for his freedom, thanking his family or legal team, or even connecting with fans. Instead, his immediate focus seems to be stirring up drama, which has some people disappointed, feeling like Thug could be using this fresh start to uplift younger generations or share the wisdom he's gained. Judge Paige Reese Whitaker handed Thug a sentence of 15 years probation, allowing him to walk free. But fans are already wondering if he might find himself right back in hot water sooner than expected, especially if his actions start pushing the boundaries of that probation deal. Thug's release came with a long list of strict rules. He's got to follow some serious conditions: no dropping any violent tracks, no gang mentions in his music, and he's banned from setting foot in Atlanta for the next decade, along with other limits. DJ Academics, who's always vocal on hip-hop's biggest stories, weighed in with some strong opinions on the terms of Thug's release. He highlighted how surprising it was that Thug got a deal like this in the first place. Nobody saw it coming. But even though it's a win for Thug, Academics feels like the conditions make it a bit of a freedom with a catch.
I think Thug got a tremendous deal. Like, we could have never expected something like this to happen. However, it's kind of a trick.
Academics compared it to what happened with another YSL member who struck a similar deal, only to end up back behind bars not long after. To him, the conditions on Thug's release feel like a trap, with potential for the smallest slip-up to get him into trouble.
The possibility of you taking 15 with all these stipulations is kind of to set you up, but it's probably nothing that is gonna ever equate freedom. So Young Thug right now being free, that's the biggest. I know some of his fans think he beat the case. He definitely didn't beat the case. Beat the case means you got no stipulations.
He even brought up NBA YoungBoy's situation, where while on probation, he faced tough restrictions on who he could associate with, especially while touring. The courts barred him from being around anyone linked to gangs, which made live performances tricky in the hip-hop scene. YoungBoy's team had to coordinate police escorts just to keep him clear of potential violations while he was performing, which was a massive challenge.
The possibility of you taking 15 with all these stipulations is kind of to set you up, but it's probably nothing that is gonna ever equate freedom. I know some of his fans think he beat the case. He definitely didn't beat the case. Beat the case means you got no stipulations.
Academics also pointed to Tekashi 669 Aini as another example of how difficult it is for artists to stay in line with these conditions while staying in the spotlight. For Thug, Academics warned, breaking even the smallest rule could mean a return to jail, just like other artists who've struggled with similar legal limitations. He also mentioned Meek Mill's situation, where a complex probation setup became a trap, filled with drug tests, endless check-ins, and rules that led to repeated violations over minor issues. According to Academics, Thug's choice to avoid a plea deal initially might have been his way of trying to dodge these restrictions, knowing that the terms could make his freedom feel just as restrictive as being locked up. Academics went on to break down his thoughts on Thug's release, calling it both a victory and a trap waiting to spring. He pointed out how with all these intense probation conditions, it's almost like Thugger has to walk a tightrope just to stay out of trouble. For the next 15 years, he's going to be under constant surveillance, with strict rules that mean he can't set foot in Atlanta, can't talk to anyone linked to gangs, and can't make music that even hints at anything gang-related. And according to Academics, that's a big challenge for Thug, since his music has always been tied to his life and his relationships.
The Young Thug thing is a win, but it's also a huge setup. If you gonna tell me that they're gonna monitor him on a probationary basis for 15 years, can't communicate with co-defendants or gang members, he can't rap about, he can't promote any music that has to do with what they believe is gang activity.
Academics even imagined how something as simple as Thug saying, "Me and my people are going out," could end up flagged as gang-related, suggesting the rules might be so strict that even casual stuff could get him into trouble. He told fans they should be happy for now, especially since anyone who followed the trial saw the toll it took on him. Thug's appearance visibly changed. He gained weight, which is unusual for him, showing how deeply the whole ordeal affected him. But Academics is warning fans to watch how this unfolds, hinting that this freedom might come with serious limits.
Yeah, my was going through it. Like, he gained a lot of weight. Everybody knows Thug was not that weight, so we happy he got out, but we definitely got to be very cognizant of how this to play out.
He also shared how Thug's release isn't exactly a win for hip-hop either. as it came with a heavy cost in terms of artistic freedom. Academics even described it as a revolving door, saying, "We lost Dirk and we got Thug back," as if there's always some artist tangled up with the legal system. For Academics, this isn't the victory fans think it is because Thug paid a big price. Prosecutors combed through Thug's entire catalog, reading out lyrics about guns, drugs, and violence in court, putting his art under intense scrutiny. And even though Thug is free now, he's lost 2 to 3 years of his life and the creative freedom that defined his music. Academics pointed out that Thug's fans might need to brace for a reality check because those celebrating his release now may not be so happy when they realize he can't make music the way he did before, without the themes that originally drew fans in, like Slat, Slime, Gang. Thug's music might feel very different, and that could change how fans feel about his return. So while it's great to see Thug out, Academics thinks it's not exactly a win for hip-hop.
Every fan that was like, yo, yeah, I'm glad he got out. He can't rap about no Slat, Slime no more. He can't rap about no gang no more. So you gonna be cool with that, or?
He also mentioned that some people close to the case believe one of the main reasons Thug was released was his heartfelt speech in court, where he seemed to show his real self and expressed remorse for anything he might have done wrong. So while it's a victory to see Thug free, Academics and others are skeptical that his journey from here is going to be smooth sailing.
I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom.
In that powerful moment, Thug really laid it all out, speaking straight from the heart and making a real connection with everyone in that courtroom. He showed remorse, saying he'd learned from his past and was truly hoping for a chance to prove himself, to go home and make things right. He even lightened the mood a bit, joking about how he'd love to only see the judge again at a bar, far away from a courtroom setting, as he made it clear he was done with situations like this for good. Thug shared how he came from humble beginnings, built his life from the ground up, but now deeply regretted not fully appreciating what he had achieved. He apologized to everyone in that room, expressing gratitude for the fairness they'd shown throughout his trial, and he even acknowledged the effort made by both sides of the case. His apology went beyond words, as he expressed regret for any extra work people had to put in because of him, showing a vulnerable side that really seemed to resonate with the jury.
Hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's, bar in the future. I've learned from my mistakes, I come from nothing and I've made something and I didn't take full advantage of it. I'm sorry.
Then, in a final heartfelt appeal, young Thug reminded the judge of all the positive contributions he'd made to his community over the years. He explained that if released, he'd go back to helping those in need, especially in the most underserved areas that rely on financial aid. His promise to return to his community painted a picture of a man genuinely committed to making a difference if given the chance. To really understand what this plea deal meant to young Thug, you'd have to consider the weight of that moment. He was staring down a harsh sentence and putting everything on the line with this agreement. Originally, the state was pushing for a hefty 45-year sentence with 25 years to serve. But Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, wasn't about to let that happen. Refusing to accept that outcome, Steele fought hard to negotiate a unique type of plea, a nolo contendere, which would allow the judge to set the sentencing terms. But right before this deal could be finalized, the state threw out one last high-stakes offer. Thug could actually walk free that very day, but only if he admitted YSL was a gang and gave up information on 8 other members facing charges. That was a line Thug refused to cross. He wouldn't turn on his friends or compromise his reputation, so he turned down that deal entirely. In a huge gamble, Steele decided to reject the state's plea, going instead with the NOLO plea where Thug pled no contest to some charges, while admitting guilt on the rest. Thug made it clear he wanted to end things here, even though the trial could have gone on for another 3 months. His priority was his family. He didn't want to keep his kids waiting, enduring their tears for months to come. The weight of knowing his kids were desperate to see him was too much, so he finally agreed to take the deal. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for, the judge's final verdict, announcing his release from jail. The room was filled with relief and even joy. Thug's lawyer, in a kind of post-game interview, shared Thug's relief at finally being free and the journey he had just endured. The news spread fast across the hip-hop world. Rapper 42, Doug summed up the mood, saying he'd always felt there were forces working to keep Thug locked up for good. But thanks to Brian Steele, one of the best in the game, they couldn't hold Thug down.
Do you think it's being mishandled?
I think it should have been dismissed. The shit with the judge that just happened.
That just happened.
Crazy, like trying to send his lawyer to jail.
Doug's reaction mirrored what Boozy had once said about YNW Melly's case. When the feds target a rich, famous rapper, they often try to find any way to keep them behind bars. But not this time. This time, Thug walked free. With all that's gone down, fans are now just hoping Thug keeps it low-key and steers clear of trouble.